Right now, we're going to bring in our next guest. We've got Sal Mercogliano joining us from, it looks like, slightly sunnier climes, or at least you're kind of getting that vibe with the shirt, right, Sal?
I am trying to get that vibe with the shirt, but it is cold here in North Carolina. We had a freeze warning last night. We went from 80 over the weekend down to 30, so it is a bit bitter outside.
Yeah, the same here in Chattanooga. It's a little chilly, but we're glad to have you on. We are talking about what's going on in maritime shipping right now. Lots of choke points all over, from global conflict to the weather, things that we can't control. And let's start there, because we've got new restrictions coming down from the Panama Canal Authority. Of course, the situation has been something that has been in development now for months, and it's continuing now to only get worse. What's up with these new restrictions?
Yeah, I mean, it's the lack of rain in Panama and the fact that the Panama Canal is a freshwater canal. You have to have water in Gatun Lake. And the way the canal works is it floods fresh water down into the locks. You got 3 locks on each side, and you have to raise the ships up. And the problem is the old locks of the Panama Canal do not reclaim water. The new locks do. They actually recycle the water. You get about 80% return on the water, but the old locks don't. And what this means is the Panama Canal has got to reduce the number of transits, because every time you open up the floodgates, you lose water in the lake. And what they're seeing right now is, with the lack of rain, is the level of the lake dropping. Usually October is a wet month. They've barely had any rain whatsoever. And this is going to impact not just container shipping, but I really think the biggest issue we're going to see is in liquefied natural gas heading out, because LNG is heading out from the U.S. Gulf Coast through the Panama Canal to Japan, to South Korea, to China. And if you do not have the Panama Canal available for that, that means that cargo has got to go a different route, and that's through the Suez Canal, going the eastern route versus west.
Yeah, I was just bringing that up in terms of the restrictions that are being placed on ships going through the Panama Canal at this particular point. Is that a major deterrent, especially for cargo that was initially headed, say, for instance, from Asia to the American East Coast, or, like you said, LNG that can be headed to Asia?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 32 transits right now on average through the canal, and you're talking about restrictions that will take you down to 20 transits by January. And I think we're seeing that in the numbers. If you look at the reports that you all just did, we're seeing LA and Long Beach numbers going back up again. It's not because LA and Long Beach have gotten more effective in their ability to move cargo. It is because people are diverting cargo back into LA and Long Beach so that they don't have to worry about getting stuck at the Panama Canal, or worse, have to offload cargo and ship it overland across the canal to meet vessels on the other side. LA and Long Beach has an opportunity to get cargo back. They're doing that. This is always contingent on the availability of Class 1 rail, of storage sites in the Inland Empire, and, of course, trucking to be available. So, again, we're seeing the Panama Canal having an impact here. Remember, the new ships being built right now, all those new ships that the container liners had money for, that are being built, a lot of those are Neo-Panamax vessels. They're designed to go through the new lane of the Panama Canal, but that's slated to reduce the number of transits down from 10 daily to 5 by January 1st. That is a substantial drop. Plus, we may still see draft restrictions come up, meaning you're not going to be able to carry as much on those ships.
It's going to be a situation that has the potential, as we mentioned, to just get worse as we head into the new year. Let's move on to another situation unfolding right now. Of course, all global eyes on the Middle East right now as the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues to expand. What are we looking at as far as international shipping now starting to be impacted by that?
Well, I mean, those ships that aren't going to go through the Panama Canal are going to head east and go through the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, and head to Asia. And right now, that is the hot spot on the world. The Maritime Administration has issued 3 warnings, and all of them are in that area. We've got a Black Sea warning because of what's happening in Russia, Ukraine. We have a Persian Gulf warning, which is due to Iran's seizure of tankers and attacks on vessels. And now we have one that spans from the eastern Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, down the Red Sea, to the Bab el-Mandab, which is the very southern terminus of the Red Sea, which means that we're seeing a lot of instability because of the Israeli-Gaza conflict, the Hamas conflict, excuse me. We're seeing war risk insurance. We just saw an LNG tanker that was supposed to load in Egypt, not load in Egypt, go through the Suez Canal empty, and picked up a load in Algeria because it didn't want to pay the substantial war risk insurance necessary for a fully loaded cargo. The missile attack that came out of Yemen that was intercepted by a U.S. destroyer, the Carney, we don't know where those missiles were going. Were they going to Israel, or were they going to the Suez Canal? We're seeing instability in the region. And when you see instability in a region, that usually means higher transportation costs, war risk insurance, and especially now with the Panama Canal diverting vessels into this area, this becomes a key look. I mean, what we're seeing is the maritime choke points around the world are starting to flash yellow.
That brings up that interesting point you brought up in terms of the Black Sea. We haven't talked about Russia-Ukraine, especially in view of maritime shipping, in quite a while. But in terms of how that conflict has played itself out, last time we checked in, it was Russia trying to head off or stop grain coming out of Odessa. Where are we at this particular point?
Well, with the end of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Ukraine announced that it was going to continue keeping that route open. And they have pushed ships up into the Odessa region, and they are moving ships in. But however, last week, Russian aircraft overflew that route and dropped mines into the water, which means now that the potential for war risk goes up even more. Ukraine has announced that they will underwrite the war risk. However, that's not enough. And what we're seeing is Lloyd's has been doing the underwriting. The problem is when the first ship gets hit, which is only a matter of time once you start mining waters, that means you could see the drop in the amount of freight coming out. Remember, Ukraine's GDP dropped 30% last year because of the shortages in getting grain out, which is the bedrock for the Ukrainian economy. And Russia is in a stalemate with Ukraine right now. And I think one of the leverages they're going to be pushing is this economic. We saw Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria announce the formation of a unified NATO minesweeping group to try to keep the route free. But unfortunately, when you start dropping mines and the way the Black Sea is right now, there's a potential here for commercial neutral vessels to be hit.
Of these three issues that is kind of top of mind or major focus right now, or is it all three of them are really bad and all three of them are something that people need to worry about?
Yeah, and all three of them are going to have an impact on everyone from, doesn't matter if you're a shipper or if you're just a consumer in middle America, this is going to have an impact on us.
Definitely true. So Sal, obviously we're anticipating your arrival for F3 coming up next week. You'll be speaking there as well, and look forward to seeing you here in Chattanooga.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully we get some warm weather.
Yeah, hopefully we turn the heat up a little bit here in the scenic city. No promises, though. I just tell the weather. I don't control it. Sal, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Great to be with you.